What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Wall Street Rundown. I'm your co-host Billy. I got Wale with me. What's good, Wale?
Not much, man. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing good. I think that the shutdown is almost over, so I think I
We'll
think
we'll
everybody's
see. We'll see.
so the vote they just it just passed the flow vote. I think they have another vote to do tonight before midnight to see if they're gonna open the market up. I mean the government up. So we'll see how the market reacts to it. I mean, I think right now kind of like everybody's just waiting to see what happens when the if the market opens. But honestly, the market didn't react that much when this when the government shut down. So I don't know why would we react too much if the government opens up again. So it's like, you know what I mean? So I don't really know if there's gonna be any sentiments going on after that. So, but other than that, man, we kind of opened the market a little bit low today, but you see a lot of buyers came in toward the end, and we see like people just buying the dip. So if you look at ES, I think ES was kind of down a little bit. Actually, we had a pullback right in the middle of the day too, which is crazy. But ES kind of came down a little bit. We closed down. Nasdaq was down. So I guess for me, it's like I don't know. We I feel like we're in a place now is like there's not a lot of momentum in the market, especially for the past couple of days. If you look at the chart, we kind of stuck like we're stuck in like a range. We haven't really
Yeah.
gone anywhere,
No.
you know. So let's get your feedback on that, man, because I feel like we really haven't gone anywhere. If you look at most of the big stock, I mean QQQ like kind of it broke today, like the 625, I think, and it got smacked all the way down to 620, 617, I think. And then we kind of see some buyer kind of stuck in a last minute of the market. But other than that, man, we haven't really seen a lot of big move this week.
Yeah, if you look at I'm just looking at the last call it let's just call it 3 days. Yeah. Looking at S&P futures. The last 3 days were just kind of been stuck in a range.
Yeah.
We had that indecision candle from yesterday. We've got a bullish hammer on the daily from today, but I'm not going to read too much stock into that right now. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the market is waiting for. The only thing I can put my finger on right now is Nvidia earnings next week,
Mm,
which is on the 19th. So maybe the market is consolidating or kind of, you know,
waiting for that.
waiting to see what happens with that because we don't have a Fed meeting this week. We don't, I mean, this month. We have our next Fed meeting going to be December 10th.
Yep.
So, and I think maybe the market is also waiting to see. Now, here's my thing. Even though the market has not been reacting as far as the government shutdown is concerned, I think the market also wants to know that all that backlog data that we didn't get from the jobs numbers, and I think we got CPI this week as well. Maybe the market
Hmm.
is waiting on that before it makes a reaction. So maybe the data bottleneck that's happened is what the market is waiting on. But right now, not too much movement. So if you're like a day trader or a scalper, it's kind of the environment you want to be trading in. If
Yep.
you're like a swing trader, this is kind of like one of those things where you just have to be patient and kind of wait this out because there isn't really much momentum to either direction. It's kind of like, okay, up and then down and then up and then
Yep.
down and then chop and then nothing. So just
Yep.
you gotta be patient and kind of, pick your spots.
Yep. This is definitely the environment where, like you say, if you're a trader that's, like to swing or, you know, do long term and stuff, this is an environment where you got to be really, really patient
Hmm.
because there's not a lot of opportunities. You don't want to force things. You know what I mean? This month, surprisingly, has been very hard to trade in, especially with all this chop that we've seen. So maybe we'll see more opportunities in December, better setup in December. So we'll
Yeah,
see. Maybe next couple of weeks, maybe once Nvidia reports, we'll see some shake up in the market a little bit. So yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yeah.
But speaking of the market, man, you send me that Michael Burry claims about numbers and inflated when it comes to AI and all that stuff. And we were talking a little bit about it. He was right about back in what 15 years ago. I mean, he was right. He was spot on. But he even with that, he saw it way early on than anybody, right? If you guys don't know what we're talking about the real estate market crash when they were doing the subprime mortgages and all this stuff. You didn't have to have a job. You didn't have to show income. You get a mortgage. It was a serious problem. But
Yeah.
Michael Burry kind of saw that ahead of time. And he saw like him and a couple other. If you guys go watch The Big Short, it kind of tell you a little bit about the story. But other than that, I mean, he was right about that. And he made a lot of money to a lot of people. So Is he right this time? Is he seeing things that we might not be seeing? Is he maybe like having preview into things that we have no understanding of? So let's get your input on that one, man, because that's a very interesting one.
Yeah, so basically what Michael Burry has come out and claimed is that the reason why the revenue numbers for this whole AI build out for a lot of these big tech companies is inflated is he is saying that the depreciation timeline is being manipulated. So one of the things that CFOs and companies do, and they put on their balance sheets when they're reporting, is they have a depreciation expense that they report. So they are saying that the depreciation expense for these chips is usually between 2 to 3 years, right? Now these companies have now changed the depreciation years to 5 to 6 years. And the mathematical difference is that because depreciation is slower, the expense that hits the income statement today is smaller than what it would be if depreciation was faster. That means profits appear higher or expenses appear lower than if realistic assets lives were used. Burry calls this a form of artificial inflation of earnings. He uses phrases like understanding depreciation by extending useful life of assets artificially boost earnings, one of the more common frauds of the modern era. That's a pretty bold claim. Now, the only thing that I can say, because I am not a CFO, I took, financial accounting in college, but by any means, I am not a financial accountant who puts together these statements. So I don't know how, I can't put too much stock into these claims, but this is the only thing I will say to think outside of the box. Let's just assume that yes, couple years ago when hopper chips were being used and the technology that was being used, let's just assume that back then the useful life of those chips was 2 to 3 years. Let's just assume that. Now we've transitioned into Blackwell. Is it possible that the useful life of chips now today being used could be extended due to better technology? Is it possible? And to me, the answer is yes. Now, whether that they are right, whether he is right or wrong, I can't say. But one of the things that you have to think about is as technology gets better, right? Because obviously Blackwell is better than NVIDIA's Hopper chips. I think that we can all, I think everybody can state that. Does that also mean that the extended life of the chip also increases? That is possible because we all know that technology advances, right?
Yep, yep.
I mean, even as humans, as medicine has improved, we have extended our lifetimes. So, does you can't just assume that because one thing was done one way when it comes to technology, that useful depreciation life stays the same throughout history. I don't think that's a good assumption. So, I understand what he's saying. Like I kind of get the basis of what he's saying. Okay, you kind of minimize your expenses, which inflates your earnings. But could the new technology be the reason why these companies feel comfortable extending the useful life of these chips? And that's where I would play devil's advocate and say, I would take that side of the aisle and think about that. Because I will say this, Michael Burry, way smarter than me. I'll tell you that right now. But I remember back in what 2022 when the Fed was raising rates, he was one of the ones who kind of came out and was claiming that we were about to see a stock market crash.
Yep.
He wasn't the only one. There was a lot of people saying that we're going to see a stock market crash. Well, let's look at where we are from 2022 to 2025.
Way, way, way up there.
We are on a 3 year bull run.
Mhm.
So he was wrong. So, you know, people can be wrong at times. So like I said, I am, and I don't know how much information Michael Burry has on whether the new technology, how much is improved compared to the old technology,
Mhm.
right? So that's how I would look at it. I would look at it objectively and say this could be a reason why they have done that. But
Yep. Yep.
Only time will tell. Only time will tell
Absolutely.
because I think everyone is starting to feel the pressure, or not, I wouldn't say feel the pressure, but get skeptical about what's happening. But that would mean that a lot of people who are involved in this AI build out, because we're not just talking about one company, we're talking about multiple companies.
Multiple companies.
Everybody would have to be wrong,
Yep.
unless you're saying that they all got in a room and started colluding.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the Oracle would have to be wrong. Nvidia would have to be wrong.
Meta.
We're gonna get into AMD. Meta would have to be wrong. Google would have to be wrong. Microsoft, like all of these companies, would all have to have made the wrong assumptions.
Yep. Yep.
And I'm not saying that they. I mean, could they? I mean, it's possible they could. We don't know because we all know that Warren Buffett, who's one of the greatest investors of our lifetime, has been still sitting in cash.
Hmm?
So, he's probably also on the same, I wouldn't say he's thinking that the AI numbers are inflated, but he's still waiting for a better opportunity to get
To
into the
get back
market
in.
and to
Yep.
play that cash.
Yep.
While other fund managers and other people are investing in this AI build out. So there's two sides to the coin, but the only way we're going to find out who's going to be right is time. That's it.
Yep. Yep.
So
I think also part of calculating earnings, you got to look at your asset liabilities, depreciate, like you look at all these different things, right? So I think if if the companies that we're looking at are overestimating those depreciating amount for those AI hardware, the chips and all that stuff, then we could probably see some earnings probably get hit down the road, right? Because
correct.
technically, the numbers might go down and people might panic. But that's
Hmm.
that's not because the technology is wrong or technology is bad. It's
Correct.
just literally because they overestimate how much is going to, how long it's going to take them to actually be able to depreciate that
Correct.
asset, that hardware, right? So I just wanted people to know, like, it's not about that AI is bad. It's about the accounting practices that goes on into how they're coming up with this earnings, right?
Correct.
So we gotta have that separation so people will know that.
Another thing that you also have to, this is an analogy that I will also use as well. Let's just say you are an event planner and you're hosting an event. And let's just say you buy, and this is an event this is a new event, and this is maybe your first time hosting this event. You buy food for 500 people, and you say, this is what we need. This is what I'm anticipating. These are my estimates. Here are my reasons why. You buy food for 500 people. You host the event, but only 400 people show up. So you basically overestimated by 100 people.
Yep.
But then you have to do the event again down the road. You just make adjustments,
Hmm.
right? So it doesn't necessarily mean that the your overestimation kills the entire business model. No, it just means that you might have to make adjustments to what you're producing to host the next event. And it is
Yep.
possible, I will say this, if there is an overestimation of what this AI build out looks like, there will be an adjustment phase where
Yep.
valuations might have to come down,
Yep.
stocks might have
Yep.
to pull back,
Yep.
but
Yep.
it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad investment in the long run. It just
Absolutely.
means that there just need to be a readjustment of valuations, earnings get adjusted, future forecasts get adjusted, and then you start moving forward again. So
Yep. Yep.
that's
Yep.
how I would look at it. Michael Burry to me is being opportunistic, right? And he's saying that here's my chance to short these names because there is an overestimation of what is projected.
Yep.
And he could be right
You could be right. You
for
could be
that
right.
short period of time,
Yep.
but then moving forward when things adjust, think that could be a more of a smoother ride moving forward. Because remember, the 2008 2009 bear market lasted what, about a year, 2 years, if that,
Yeah.
and then the
It's
market
gone. Yeah.
went back and did what it did. So we could see an adjustment period. He
Yep.
could be right. So don't think that it's how should I put it? It's not the end all be all for AI chips and the technology moving forward.
Yeah. And I guess, like, since I'm seeing a lot of, like, people talking about AI bubble, AI bubble, AI bubble, like, you have to understand, like, when you say AI bubble, what do you mean? Do you mean the
Correct.
technology is bad, kind of like the dot-com era, or do you mean something else? In this case, I can see what that potential bubble that he's talking about, but it's not necessarily a technology bubble, it's accounting practices bubble. You know what I mean? So it's like you gotta be able to, like, when somebody says a bubble, you gotta be able to identify, like, what do you mean a bubble is? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
because
I think
we are seeing use cases for AI that's very
correct.
legitimately is working for
Correct.
companies.
To
So
me, the way I see it is that there is a possibility of a mismatch between demand and supply. And when there's a mismatch, there again, there's a readjustment period. So if demand decreases, but supply increases in economics, it's just a
it's
simple
not,
rule that
yeah,
price comes down.
yep,
That's it.
yep,
Which is why I keep trying to tell people if you've been in some of these high flyer stocks that have done and performed very, very well, I'm not saying that Michael Burry is right, but you have to have that in the back of your mind that this might be a good place to take some profit. Because if there is a readjustment period and these stocks do come down, you can possibly get a better entry point at a better price and ride the long term trajectory. And we're talking about investing, not trading. So you also have to think about that because, like I said, we went back to April, right? When Nvidia came down to what? Under $100?
yep. It was like 90 something. Yeah,
That was a readjustment period. Now, it wasn't
yep,
caused by people thinking there was a bubble. There was a macro global issue that people were in fear of.
yep,
There was a readjustment in price and projected earnings that lasted for a couple days.
yeah.
And
And then
next thing you know, everything took off again.
yep. We doubled that. We doubled that amount.
Correct. Correct. But using the word fraud for this, that's a bold claim in my opinion. So
Yeah, yeah,
I am not a a CPA. I'm not an auditor, so I can't speak on
yeah.
that.
But I think the one thing we do agree with him is this prices will have to come down. It's at some point we have to see some
For
readjustment.
some, for some companies, yes, I
Yep,
think that some of these companies
yep,
there will have to be a readjustment. We also have to be mindful of this, and this is one of the things that I will keep going back to. When Nvidia made that monster run in 2022, when their revenue growth rate was growing at a
crazy.
ridiculous amount, at some point it got to a point where it started to slow down.
Yep,
That's how cycles work. You could get a rapid ramp up and then you get to a point where that cycle starts to slow down or even plateau.
yep.
That could, and that is a natural phenomenon that happens. Nothing grows at that speed into perpetuity.
Exponentially.
Nothing,
Yep, yep,
nothing, nothing.
yep,
So at some point it will slow down. You just have to be mindful of that. But that doesn't make it seem like it's a bad company or a bad business to invest in.
yep,
So
yep,
because we've seen times where Nvidia reported and everybody came out and said, "Oh, the growth is slowing down." The stock sold off after earnings. But what
yep.
happened?
It goes right back up.
Goes right back up.
Every time.
So yeah, so you just have to take everything with a grain of salt. Don't buy into all the headlines. Do your research, and if you don't want to do your research, listen to the Wall Street Rundown because we'll guide you through the
We got
process.
we got you.
We got you guys.
Well, speaking of Nvidia, let's move on to AMD. AMD surged like over 7% on today after they announced a bold $100 billion annual data center revenue target. Like that is a crazy number. And with plans to claim a larger slice of the booming AI market dominated by Nvidia. So they're coming. They said we're coming. Nvidia, we're coming. It sounded like Coach Brian. It was like, we coming. Next thing you know, like, we here. But AMD is up there, man. Like that monster run for today was crazy. So let's talk about that, man. I mean, we were talking about how the AI and all that stuff is happening right now, but Nvidia is making a bold claim into this this sector that we're just talking about. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of confidence that goes into that.
So AMD hosted their think their investment conference this week, and Lisa Su came out with guns blazing. That's the only way I can put it. Um, and everyone has been asking, when is Nvidia going to have competition? When is
Yep.
Nvidia going to have competition? And it seems like AMD is ready for all the smoke now.
Yep.
Let me give you some numbers that they are projecting. Let's look at this. It says they're looking at an annual growth rate for their data center business of 60%. That's wild. Their core business, they're saying a compounded annual growth rate. We're talking about compounded annual growth
Compound.
rate. We're not talking about so that means that imagine your revenue compounding by 60% every single year. That is a crazy number.
Mhm.
Their core business, they said 10%, and they said on an annual basis for their total business, 35% annual compounding growth rate. That is ambitious as you know what. Now, will I sit here and say that they can't do it? I will say no. Because if you look at what Lisa Su has done since she took over AMD, I mean, she has turned that entire company around. Because I remember back in like maybe like 2016, 2017, when AMD was maybe like a $17, $15 stock. And now we're at, I think they hit a high of what, 267. So she's done a really, really good job.
Yep.
But again, I will keep saying she's another person that has very ambitious goals about what the projected revenue from the data center business will look like. So I keep asking people, how many people are wrong about the data center build out?
Yep.
I'm not saying that they aren't or they can't be, but if someone's saying that you're committing fraud, and a lot of these other CEOs and CFOs are doubling down on what their projections are, like I said, only time will tell who's right.
Only time will tell.
But it sounds like AMD is really, really, you know, and it's so funny that Jensen Wong and Lisa Su are cousins, and
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. I was like,
it sounds like a
coming from her
family.
cousin.
Yeah, it sounds like a family rivalry. But I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what AMD's numbers will look like over the next, 3 to 5 years. So, I would probably put this name on my list as potential long-term holds if they can deliver on the numbers. Because I will say this as well. We saw the same bold claims that Oracle made, but now we've seen Oracle kind of just
Yep.
fade back and give up all of those gains.
Yeah,
Will in
because they want to raise money in the debt market. So
So my question is, will AMD have to do the same, and will that raise a red flag?
mm,
Because if AMD is making these claims, and then all of a sudden they have to go into the debt market and start raising money, maybe
mhm.
investors may read that as a red flag. I don't know for sure. Now,
Yeah,
the one company that has not gone out and had to raise money in the debt market that I haven't heard of yet is Nvidia. Nvidia hasn't done it yet. I feel if Nvidia does, I think investors are going to get a little nervous about that.
yep,
And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because we all know that companies use debt to finance build outs and all that stuff.
all
And,
the time. Yep,
that's perfectly fine from a business standpoint. But I think that will scare the market just based on where it is from a valuation standpoint.
yep, yep.
So, but that's some very, very, very bold claims from AMD. And we'll just have to wait and see what it looks like. Because man, 35% annual compounded growth rate, that's crazy. And if we're
That's a
not
crazy claim.
mistaken, AMD was a $149 stock back on September 8th. And I remember us talking about AMD months and months ago, talking about
Yeah,
what's going to happen. What's
what's
going to
gonna happen?
happen? Are
Yep,
they going to figure it out? And it seems that they finally got some confidence behind them as far as what they're going to be able to do. So
yep.
all I will say is from a manufacturing standpoint, this is probably going to be good for Taiwan Semiconductor. So
TSM is gonna be the biggest winner of all of these.
Yeah,
Like they're just sitting in the back, chilling. It's like, oh, you make a new chip, come to us. You know, like we'll build it for you. You design, you go do all your stuff that you want to do. Design, market it, we'll build it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So
They still have Nvidia as a customer. They still got AMD as a customer. They
yep,
still got Apple as a customer. So,
yep,
as long as, you know, chips need to be built, to me, they are one of the, if not in my opinion, the most important business out there that
yep,
is needed to continue this build out and this rollout of all of these chip
yep.
makers. So
And they're sitting pretty right now. If you look at where TSM is at right now, it's kind of consolidating. It hasn't really gone
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah, it's been consolidating for a
Um,
while.
yep, yep. If it gets down to like the 270 area, I think I might actually jump in there.
Take a stab at it.
Yeah. But yeah, but other than that, man, I mean, AMD is here to stay. They're staking their claim, and the CEO, I like her. She's very bold. I mean, she took this company from like, I don't know how what AMD was when she took it over, but it's like I don't think they were doing as well. But she brought that
No,
company back,
no. She turned
and
the whole company around.
she's doing an amazing job. So, and that's one thing you always got to invest in. You don't just invest in the company, but you also look at who the leadership are. But she's doing a really good job. Um, so kudos to
Man,
her, man.
this was a $76 stock in April.
Yeah. Now look at it. 290. Crazy. Crazy.
No, I think it's two fifty eight
258,
now.
258. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
two
I
fifty
was
eight.
looking at
Yeah,
I was looking at TCM, TSM. 258. That's still, man, that's crazy.
yeah. That's a crazy run.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, man, let's move on to healthcare, man. If you guys go look at some of the healthcare, go look at Eli Lilly, bro. Like, uh, man, they're reported and they just haven't stopped going up since then. You know what I mean? So what is going on in healthcare? Let's talk about that, man. Because I'm like, go look at XLV, the XLV, the ETF. Like that thing is up like crazy.
So if you look at
Um,
the last 3 months, the XLV is up almost 18%.
Yeah, just moving up.
And if you compare that to it's trailing the semiconductors by about 300 basis points. Looks like the SMH is up about 20%, but it's outperforming financials, materials, retail. It's outperforming technology. It's outperforming utilities. It's outperforming industrials. Um, Another sector in the healthcare market that has been booming in the last 3 months is biotech. Biotech is up 33% in the last 3 months. And I'm using the XBI as my proxy for biotech.
Crazy, man.
Um, Home builders, it's outperforming them, outperforming consumer staples, outperforming communication services, outperforming consumer discretionary, outperforming real estate, energy. So healthcare and biotech, those two sectors have been quietly
Just,
marching
just,
higher.
just
And what
moving
I
on.
will say is, because I mean, I'm just looking at the move that the XLB has made in the last 2 days from 145 to 153 in a very, very short period of time. And what I am saying is, we all know that when certain sectors see sell-offs and certain sectors see selling, that money flows into somewhere else.
Someone else, yep.
And I think a lot of fund managers are saying that healthcare has been undervalued, and they're saying that we're taking money off the table from technology and we're
Putting it,
reinvesting
yep,
that into healthcare and biotech.
yep,
Eli Lilly is creeping up on $1 trillion market cap.
yep,
Since their last earnings, they have just been on a tear. I mean,
yep.
it has been up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I mean, 9 out of 10 days, it has closed higher than it's opened.
Crazy, man.
So, um, let me go back to the XBI because there's another name in there that popped up on my list on the top 10 holdings. Uh, I think it was Amgen. Let me see. What's their symbol? AM,
AMGN.
AMGN. Yeah, Amgen just reported earnings not too long ago. They have been on a really big move. That was a what, $292 stock not too long ago. Now they're at $242 stock. And I think, let me see, Regeneron, I think was another one. Regeneron was another one. Uh, yeah, Regeneron is another one that reported back in October. That stock was sitting at 586 and now is approaching 700. So some of these biotech stocks and these healthcare stocks have been quietly moving and
Yep.
not getting any type of
Did I
like
did I get attention? Like
no
nobody's talking
attention.
about them.
Nobody's
Yeah.
talking about them.
Yep.
So if there is a rotation and you start to see tech sell off a little bit more, this might be the sector
That's where the money's
that
going.
is where the money is starting to flow into.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I would be watching the healthcare sector just
Yep.
to um, you know, pay attention because again, we always know money flows in and out of different sectors over the course of a market cycle.
Hmm.
Got to start paying attention to where the money could be possibly be headed to.
Yep. Add
And I,
UNH to that list too. I mean, I think UNH is starting to creep up a little bit too. So
yeah, UNH, let me take a look at the longer. Yeah, so UNH, yeah, back in August was 253. They got to as high as 381.
yep. And then
Yeah.
they got rejected there. So we'll see. We'll see if they can hold that. I'm looking at that monthly chart, trying to see how this month closed.
Hmm.
There's a lot of buyers that came in and just bought the dip out from 315, I think, all the way to 339 now. So let's see how we close this month.
Yeah. So healthcare is a sector that I would be watching. And I think another name that has also done pretty good. Go look at the chart of Johnson and Johnson, J and
Yeah.
J, going back to
Woo!
July.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months of straight up just banging. That's crazy.
Yeah. Johnson and Johnson is another name that has not, you ain't heard Johnson and Johnson in the news,
Mm.
but healthcare has been one of the better performing sectors out there in the market.
Yeah.
So a name that has fallen on hard times, I'm not exactly sure if I'm ready to invest in it or how I feel about it per se. Man, but what's it called? Fell off a cliff. Um, oh man, what's the name? Oh man, mRNA, Moderna.
Yeah, Moderna.
Moderna has fallen off a cliff. It's a
Ooh,
it's
it's a
a
$22 stock.
$23 stock. It has basically been chopped in half over the last couple of months.
You
I
know,
don't.
this one be like this one be a bad one to hold as man, if they go back to that $11 low, I don't know.
Yeah, my thing with Moderna is I don't know exactly. Now, I will say that they probably fell off after the COVID, after
Yep,
COVID kind of died out and all of those, the demand for their shots probably went down.
yep.
Maybe they were banking on that a little bit too much,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a $23 stock now. Um, I have not done
Jeez.
any research as far as why the stock is down or whether or not they will make a comeback, but this company is one to take a look at. But the chart is disgusting. Like
It's horrible.
the chart is ugly. It's ugly.
One, two,
Um,
three. They had 4 years of decline.
yeah, the chart is very, very ugly. So yeah, I would put this on my list and see, okay, and do some research on what's going on with them. But yeah, we've got some pretty good healthcare names out there that are just quietly doing really well. I think another one that has done really well in the last month or so, TMO, Thermo Fisher.
Yep.
That stock was what, $476 going back to about late September. Now it's pushing almost 600.
Mm-hmm.
getting close to that 610 level it got to before it fell off. So yeah, healthcare, put that on your list of things to watch out for if money keeps flowing out of tech. So
Yep.
yeah.
With that being said, I mean, tomorrow, I don't know if we're gonna get these numbers, but we're supposed to get the 8:30 a.m. the initial jobless claims, consumer price index (CPI) is supposed to come at the same time. CPI year over year, also core CPI year over year. Supposed to get all that tomorrow, so I don't know if we're gonna get these numbers. I'm not sure. Nobody
I think
knows.
I think we got one CPI print during the shutdown, so I'm assuming we might get another one.
We'll
We'll
see.
see what happens with this vote,
Yep.
but yeah, we'll just have to see what happens in the pre-market tomorrow.
Yep. And then we have core PPI on Friday. We'll see if we get that one also. The other thing that I'm watching also is the U.S. retail sales to see how those numbers looks like. And yeah, I mean, those are some usually big numbers that's gonna get reported. But other than that, like I don't know if we're gonna get them. Like I really
Mm,
don't know if we're gonna get them.
yeah,
So
we'll just
we
have to
shall
wait.
see.
We'll just have to
Yeah,
wait and see. Yeah,
yeah. Next week, not a lot of reports next week, so I think
Ex-
we should be okay.
except for Nvidia.
Nvidia is reporting next week. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
Nvidia
biggest one that everybody's watching.
next week
But
Wednesday.
other than that, man, I don't see I don't see anything else for next week that worthy of notating here. But other than that, man, any last minute advice? Because I think like again, I don't know if the market when the government opens up, I don't know if that's gonna move the market. I don't know if we're gonna react to it.
Yeah, I don't know
I
either.
have no idea. But for me, so far, November has been a very blah month. Like it
Yeah.
hasn't been like you have to like scalping or quick day trading in and out. You're not really holding for too long, you know. So again, we'll see. We'll see how this month end. Maybe December will bring more opportunities and stuff. But yeah, I don't see any crazy movement so far, except for healthcare.
Oh, I will say
Healthcare.
this. I will say this. So I listened to the Oklo earnings call yesterday,
Okay. Yeah.
and the only thing I will say is that I didn't hear anything that would give me a red flag. I still think that they're it sounds like they're still on schedule. Things are moving according to plan. So it's just one of those things where
Just to let you
again,
guys know, Aqua was at $111. We came down from 193.
yeah, I think it came down like almost over 40% from the high. And I
Yep.
think it dipped below 100 at one point.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's again, I will say this because it's a pre-revenue company, there's a lot of pull forward. So there's a lot of growth already priced into the stock.
Mhm.
So like I said, everything just needs the timeline needs to stay the same. As long as the
Stay the
timeline
same.
stays the same, I'm not going to sit here and argue. So,
Yep. Well, that's a wrap for us, y'all. You guys have a good night. We'll catch you guys on Friday. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, please make sure you guys share
like
with
and
everybody else.
subscribe.
Please like and subscribe, get us up there. So with that being said, y'all have a good night. We'll see you guys on Friday.
All right, everyone.